And now, for the moment you've all been waiting for, we're going to talk about publishing your content and then, of course, how to make some cover art. So let's say you've made the reels. You'll see up here again in the top that I have made a short reels, and I'm happy with it. I'm done with what I want to do here. I open this up. Maybe I added some native text here, and I want to just cover this up when Papa Duty calls, and I can just cover that up, right? And maybe I want to add text to speech if I want. And say that's done, and I say done, right? I've moved on to next. So I click next. Once I'm good, I like where the text is, I feel good about the edit. Again, you can always go back in here. This is something I wanted to make sure we covered, is editing. So if you go down here in the edit clips, again, this might be different depending on your iPhone, but right now I only have one clip in here. However, if I want to make this one shorter, I can simply, again, go to edit clips. I can tap on this. It's going to keep playing on loop. You'll see here I can pause it if I want. I can tap here. I can do exactly what I do when editing anything else in Instagram Reels and slide where I want this to start and stop. Then I can go back to all clips. And let's say I want to add a clip. It's going to open up my camera. So I could record something now if I want. I could add a different effect. I could change locations. Or I could go in here and I could upload this. And maybe I don't want to play the whole thing. I just want to play a portion of Maverick trying to roll over. And I say add. Right? I still only have a little bit here. I could add more if I want. I could click next. Again, it's going to show me now these two edits. If I want to edit these clips even more, I can tap edit clips. I can change the order. Say I want Maverick rolling over to be there. I can just hold down. It will get bigger, and then I can move it over. I can also click the minus. It will delete it. I can then add another clip. So you can edit pretty much anything in here. Now, if you want to get really fancy with editing, I highly suggest using an app like InShot, which I will show you in another tutorial. But because sometimes if Instagram glitches or crashes, again, we're talking about a free social media platform, you will get frustrated, and it's not worth it, to be honest. So let's say I want to add another clip, or let's say I'm good with this, and I click next. All right, I like this. I'm happy with it. The first thing I want to look at is the cover, okay? If I don't like this as the frame that I have, if I want to use one of these, again, we want to talk about here's what the cover would look like, but then we also want to see what that would look like in our profile grid. Now, if I'm new to my page and I see this doesn't tell me anything about this piece of content. But if I slide down, the text will appear, and that might intrigue me enough to want to click and watch. This is why text is super important, and then also getting it within a frame that you want to be in your grid is also important. Something I like that a lot of people do is if you're very much into design or aesthetic and you want your whole grid to feel cohesive, you can add from your camera roll. And let's say you have like a really beautiful published photo. Here's us with Maverick, and that kind of represents the vibe, right? Or maybe I made something in Canva that has text over it. I can't add text at this point, but I could find something that has text in it, right? Let's see if I have anything. Like if I was sharing an episode of my podcast, I might use this, right? And then I could go into my profile grid. I can move this so that it fits within the grid, and it's slightly more, cohesive, aesthetic. It looks really good. And now I've got a cover photo that I can use for this specific thing. This is what it looks like in full motion, but you're only going to see the cover photo in the grid, right? And let's say I add the caption, added a caption and tagged you at you, right? And then maybe I added some Disney hashtags. Right now I've got a bunch of hashtags in there that are relevant if it was Disney related. And then maybe I want to tag people in this. Like maybe I want to tag my husband. Right? This is different than tagging someone in the comments, because this will actually show up as a suggested post for his stories, which then he might be more likely to share in his stories, which gets me more views. And then finally, this is something I want to make sure you know about. If this is original audio, I could say Bret Shuford Dad, right? And now this is called Bret Shuford Dad Audio. Anyone who finds this audio is going to see my name, and they'll be more likely to look me up, right? It shows up in searches. This is a great way. If you are using original audio, make sure you're using this feature of labeling. And if you're a local small business, you might want to consider tagging your location. Sharing on Facebook is a new option, which hopefully you have. And then finally, I always like to make sure my Reels Play bonuses are attached. If you have access to that, make sure this blue button is clicked. And then I can click post. Now there are advanced settings here. This can, upload higher quality video. I can show captions. If it's a longer video, it will auto-generate for me. And of course, if I don't want to share right now, I can save to my drafts. And then what would happen is I can go into my Reels folder here, and you'll see an entire folder for all of my drafts there. And I can go back into this one. I can do any last minute edits whenever I want. I can even go up here into edit, and I can re-edit the video. I can edit clips, I can add clips, right? So it's super important to take advantage of these features of saving it to a draft. If you are somebody who creates transformation, you do transformation in your own work. If you're a painter and you want to show the evolution, you can start, save it to your drafts, come back, add content until that Reels is ready to be finished as a final product. So this is how you would go about publishing and making really great cover art. Again, if you want some resources, I would use something like Canva for making your cover art. Canva is free. So if you want to go in here, you can, Instagram stories are the same size as any of the cover art. So if you want to make some really beautiful cover art, you can do that in here. You can upload your own photos. And then again, another great app for editing video outside of Instagram is called InShot. And InShot I use for a lot of our brand deals. So we're working on a piece of content for Buick, and here's a little sneak peek of that. And InShot has an amazing array of editing tools. You can add transitions even. Let's see if I can show you. There's a transition here, watch. This transition there, right? So things you can do in this editing app, and then you can also save them forever and ever. They also have photo editing skills and collages. InShot is a great app for editing video if you want to start editing some video outside and then cross-sharing that on multiple platforms. So I hope this helps you understand a little bit more about how to put everything we've learned this week together. If you need to go back and watch this again, I did go through it pretty quickly. My goal here is to get through these lessons pretty quickly for you so that we can start creating next week. I don't want you spending a lot of time here. I want you to get into action. So your action is to play around with all of the editing features. I want you to also play around with the posting features. Have you figured out how to hashtag people, how to tag other accounts, tag your locations? Experiment with all that. You don't have to publish. You can always save your drafts if you want. And of course, tag me on Instagram if you are sharing this to your stories. I'd love to see how your progress is going, and I'll see you in the next video.